Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's take a look. That was 500,000 on crit. Almost 600,000 non-crit.
I welcome you to Mini-Me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Tonight we're going to go ahead and talk about a PvE build. Our goal is to get our power to the maximum. Before we go ahead and respect, what you see here right now is the hit points build. If you haven't seen this, make sure you check the description below. You will find the link there, so that way you can check that out. The hit points build is good for all classes if you're trying to rock the high HP. I'm going to be using a PvP gear on this video as I don't have any PvE gear because I really don't PvE a lot. If you do have a PvE gear, it's probably going to be better for you because you'll be able to gain more power than I am on this video. The build that you see here, again, this is the HP build, high hit points for PvP, guys. We are going to be using a retraining token as I've did on the previous video to respect our character. Also, I'm going to show you really quick here under my personal bank all the retraining tokens that I currently have. If you were wondering how I got so many retraining tokens, make sure you check the link on the description below, which would be the high hit points build. That will show you on details. Let's go ahead and use our retraining token so we can go ahead and respect our character. I would definitely recommend you choose Swordmaster for a PvE build. But today what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to pick Iron Vanguard. The reason behind that is because Iron Vanguard has something that Swordmaster doesn't have. And that would be the Temple of Fallen, which causes a lot of damage burst when you are controlling the target. The advantage of Swordmaster is that you can attack multiple targets with the Weapon Master Strike, which allows you your secondary weapon to keep swinging it so you're damaging multiple targets. Also, another advantage of Swordmaster is going to be Steel Defense, so that way you can save yourself from dying in that last moment when you need to heal yourself, and it makes you immune. In addition to that, you also get Steel Grace that increases your run speed by 17%, so that way you're not left behind in a party when everybody else is burning your ass. Let's take care of our ability score. I'm going to add all the points on strength, a few points on constitution because our HP is not going to be all that high, and then the rest of the point under charisma, so that way we can bring our combat advantage as high as we can. The way the combat advantage works is that when you prone the enemy and they're sitting there on the ground, that's when you have combat advantage. It also increases your companion stat bonus, and because we're going to be using companions for PvE, that is the reason why we're picking the majority of the points on charisma. As I mentioned earlier, I don't PvE a lot, therefore my companions are not all that great, but I'm used to what I got. So if you have better companions than I do, better enchantments for your companions or gear, you'll be able to cause more damage and have a higher power as well. Let's go ahead and go through our feat section. As you noticed, I did pick all the points at the bottom so we can get more HP. In addition to that, I picked the points in the middle so we can get more strength. And this time we're going to put all 5 points in action point gain and not going to worry about the combat advantage defense because that's something you want to select for PvP. Not going to worry about the monsters doing combat advantage on us. We're going to go ahead and select at least 1 point on healing because any heals are much appreciated. And then we're going to go ahead and select all the points on the one that gives us more damage on our encounter powers and at will. And then the last one is going to be the one that increases our crit chance. The bigger the crits, guys, the bigger the damage. This is going to be very similar to the PvP build. Technically, what I'm saying is that I'm choosing anything that gives me damage, on top of damage. There is only one thing we're going to pick different this time, is we're going to go ahead and pick the Reinforced Surge, which will allow us to do more damage, since we're going to be using that for PvE most of the time. What I've noticed in PvE, what works best if you have really high power. Along with that, as long as you know how to stack up your buffs, so that way you can cause a lot of damage. I am also going to pick Stagger and Challenge, as I'm going to use Night Challenge along together with that on the final bosses. So stick around and you shall witness it for yourself. We are going to go ahead and select the 2 bottom ones, and then I'll skip the middle as we don't need any points in there. And I think we're all set here with the PvE feat section. Let's go ahead and submit it so that way we can move on to the Boon section. Alright, finally. So under the Boon section, what I'm going to do is select anything that gives me power. More damage. I still have to complete that part, guys, on Gonal Grim, which it never goes. It's very, very rare. But the one I would pick would be the one that gives you speed. Moving on to Shenandoah campaign, we're gonna pick power instead of defense. We're gonna pick crit instead of deflect. We are also going to pick action point gain instead of HP. I am also choosing 20,000 more damage burst versus 20,000 healing. And here's the last part. The one at the top gives you stamina regeneration by 10%, which is great for PvP, guys. But for PvE, what I'm gonna choose is the one that gives you 135 more power every time you kill an enemy. And that could stack up to 30 times, guys. So if you take 135 power times 30 times in 45 seconds time, that comes out to an extra 4,000 more power. You get my drift. Technically what I'm doing is I'm picking everything that gives you more power and more crit. And what we're going to do in PvE is we're going to use lifesteal instead of anything else. Because lifesteal works amazing for any class when it comes to PvE. I would love to go on details on every single boons that I'm selecting, but most of them are self-explanatory. Some of you may agree to this build and some of you may disagree. Whatever the case may be, leave it on the comments below so that way I know what your take on this is. Was this video helpful? Did you like it? If so, don't forget to smash the like button. Since we're going to be using lifesteal for our PvE, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the one that gives you 3 times as much lifesteal when you kill an enemy, or when you're doing damage. Let's go ahead and move on to the next boon, which would be the Icewind Dale. This one we're going to go ahead and pick combat advantage instead of anything else. On the next boon, we'll go ahead and pick incoming healing instead of stamina gain. And then on this one, we'll go ahead and pick recovery. So that way we can go ahead and gain more action point along with our encounters having a much shorter period of time as far as cooldowns. On the very last one, what we're going to do is go ahead and pick the one that gives you an extra 10% on action point gain when you kill a target. And as you know, guys, in PvE, you're always smashing targets. That's not a problem. What I'm going to do to save you guys some time is I'll go ahead and speed up the video because the boons are very similar to the previous build. The selections that I'm making is pretty much power, crit, action point gain, and as you notice under the feat section, I've chosen the ones that gives us damage burst. I appreciate you for sticking around. I hope this video is helpful to you, so that way I can maximize your fun experience in PvE. You can also take this build in PvP just as well. You will be a bit squishy, or I should say a lot squishy, but you're surely to do a whole lot of damage as long as you play it smart. And if you're facing an HR, well, we all know the answer to that. Okay, so moving on to the next part. Lifesteal doesn't really work in PvP with the GF, guys. It's great for a GWF, but it works amazing on PvE as you're killing monsters. You're surely to regenerate your hit points a lot quicker if your lifesteal is rather high. And if you choose to play with this build on PvP, make sure that you've selected the hit points under your guild boons. Alright, I still have not selected that last boon that just came out on this new mod. Let's go ahead and complete our powers, guys. A lot of you had a question about the relic weapon versus the new weapons that came out. And you guys wanted to take my opinion on what do I think is better. Well, if you read the description on the relic weapons, they're the only ones that do an extra 10% damage, and they also heal you at the same time. The reason why the developers left the relic weapons to be better is because it would have upset a large amount of people as they worked really hard to achieve, as the new weapons are a lot easier to get. Alright, now that we're all set with the boons and the power section, go ahead and pause the screen so you can see exactly what I was using. Now, let's go ahead and put all the enchantments back in. First, we're going to start with the artifacts. Let's go ahead and put them in place. The artifacts I'm selecting are going to be the ones that gives us power. And the last artifact I'll be selecting will be the Lost Mouth Horn, as it goes together with my belt and my necklace, so that way you do more damage on crit. If you are new to my channel and you're watching this video for the first time, make sure you smash the subscribe button. I'll be switching to the Orca set in April coming up since it's going to be double refinement. Everybody's been telling me to switch to the Orca set as you do more damage. So that's something that you definitely want to stick around to find out for yourself. The gear that I'm selecting is going to be the gear that gives me the most power. So right now our power is at 26,000. And our defense seems to be about 7,000, our deflect is at 3,000, but our lifesteal is looking pretty good. We're about 8,000. The reason why I'm able to achieve the lifesteal so high is because, again, I'm using the boons from my guild. Alright, now it's time to go ahead and put all the rank 12 radiants under the offense slots so that way we can raise our power. We'll go ahead and switch to ring because we don't need that PvP ring since we're going to be doing PvE instead. The one I'm going to be selecting is the one that is going to raise our crit chance. I will go ahead and speed up the video so it's not taking too much of your time since I'm only putting the enchantments on the offense and defense slot. Pretty much on the offense slots I'm going to be adding the radiance. On the defense slots I'm going to go add in the silveries so that way it gives me more deflection. And then for my utility slot I'll be using the dark so it gives me more speed. And then for my chest piece I'll be using negation, and for my weapon enchantment I will be using fate touch. Alright, so with all the enchantments being put in place, now what we're going to talk about the companions along with our Insignia bonuses. But first let's go to our Insignia bonuses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the gown mount. What this does, it swipes away 10% of your deflection, defense, and lifesteal and adds it in as power. So that way we can get our power even higher. Let's go ahead and go back to the main character sheet. Let's take a look at our power. It looks like we're at about 34,000. We can go ahead and drink some potions. That's surely to raise our power even higher. The one I like to drink is the watermelon one, along with the superior power, which gives you an extra 1,000 more. So as you notice there, we're up to 38,000. Let's go ahead and activate our companion. The companion that I like to use is called the Ion Stone. Pretty much whatever you toss at it, it gives you as your stats. So if you put in some power and armor penetration, it adds it on top of the power that you already have. Let's go ahead and use the Prime Rib Potion that you could get it in your guild hall. It gives you an extra 1,000 more power. As you notice there, we're up to 43,000 at the moment. And that's because my Twisted Weapon hasn't kicked in yet. Let's take a look at the damage. 150,000 with my at will. Pretty awesome, guys. What do you think? Let's go ahead and do the drum slap really quick and see what it does. We're up to 45,000. And if I go to the mount section, I can also choose power instead of movement. So let's go ahead and do that so we can get our power up to 47,000, guys. Okay, everything is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and practice on the dummy a little bit more and see what the damage is. Look at that, 100,000 with the reinforced surge. Let's not forget the brutality ring, which raises my power by an extra 4,000 more once I mark the target, or I'm being damaged, or I'm doing my encounter powers. Drum slap, 100,000 with a drum slap. 180,000 with a daily. Not so bad, guys. Pretty good, and it seems to be proccing on crit a lot more often than it does normally. Look at that, another 100,000 with a drum slap. Let's go ahead and switch our powers. What we're going to do is add Night Challenge along with the Griffin's Wrath, so that way we can test our maximum damage. I'm also going to be using the wheel for the fire, guys. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's take a look. That was 500,000 on crit, almost 600,000 non-crit, and then my at will did about 400-some thousand. Alright, let's go ahead and try it again. Night Challenge. Smash, smash, smash again. Daily. Look at that, 600,000 guys on a daily. Alright. Everything is looking good. All the mounts are looking good. What we can probably do is also swap this one out with the lion. And what the lion does, it'll give you an extra 5% more combat advantage, which is pretty large. With everything being put in place, let's go ahead and switch maps. Let's go to the Stronghold and test our power in some monsters. See how that works out. As you notice there, our power is up to 49,000 because of the boons that we selected. That stacks up to 30 times. There we go. I gave them no fighting chance at all. Looks like we're up to 50,000. And if I kept going, probably I would hit about 53,000 altogether. Let's go ahead and just have all these monsters chase us and see all the damage that we can cause. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching Mini-Me. I really do appreciate it. The commentary ends here. I'm gonna go ahead and play some PVE stuff, so you guys can kind of see how the character performs, how my GF build performs. This is too easy, by the way. Let's hop in the fire. Let's do the drum slap, Hulk smash. There we go. Everything is like butter. I'm just touching them and they're dying. Alright, I do play about 3 or 4 matches on this one that I've recorded until I get the chess piece that I did on the build for my hit points build. You guys will notice that on all the 3 or 4 matches that I played, I was the highest one on the damage. Alright, thank you so much for watching Mini-Me. I hope this video was helpful. If so, make sure you share it with people you care about so that way it can be helpful to them as well. Other than that, peace out.
attack from the lower tunnels!